Hey guys, welcome back. Hybrid32494 here. This is going to be a very interesting video for any of you out there that are looking to get a used Lincoln LS. This particular one that I'm sitting in is my own car. I've had it since 2009, so you could say I know a great deal about this particular car because it's broken so many times over the years, although, you know, most of the time it's relatively simple to repair. Nothing major or significant so far, but I've come up with a list that I think is pretty common for these vehicles. I'm going to call this video the top 6 issues with the Lincoln LS. Issue number 1, you're definitely going to have this. Now, this really doesn't matter if you have a Gen 1 or a Gen 2. In particular, with the V8 models, you have a major issue with the coil on plugs. I've already replaced my coils twice. Now, of course, if you go to the dealership, they're going to charge you an arm and a leg. I think it's about $350 a coil. And usually what happens is one fails, you wind up replacing all 8 eventually anyway. So don't try to replace one at a time. Try to do all if you can. Now, the cheapest way is to obviously get aftermarket coils. People say that, you know, don't go aftermarket. I've done it. I have bought 2 different types of 8 coils on Amazon and on eBay, and guess what? They usually run about 3 years. There's really no issues. Now, typically I've noticed that one coil does fail and pretty much you have a misfire. So your codes will be misfire, maybe your engine will idle roughly under acceleration of about 3,000 RPM. Obviously you can go into fail-safe mode, whole sort of problem, range of problems could happen. All right. Issue number 2, also very common on almost every single Lincoln LS, the cooling system leaks due to old cracked plastic piping. So this particular car is not a really large vehicle. It weighs, I think, around 3,900 pounds. It does have an aluminum body, and a lot of the engine components that were used were significantly lighter than they could have been made, so they're plastic. Over 10 years, actually, as a matter of fact, when this car reached exactly 10 years, some of the plastic components began to fail. I did replace a couple of the plastic T connections. I'll show you guys a little picture of it later on, what it looks like. I actually have a pretty popular video here on YouTube about repairing it yourself. It does work. Issue number 3. So the dual coolant control valve malfunction. So in this particular car, the dual coolant control valve could either kind of cause the stop of coolant to your engine. It could also cause your air conditioning or heater to run erratically. Let's say something like you'll get hot air from one vent in the car and cold air from another side of the car. So you'll basically have an issue with the coolant flow. It's about a $400 repair. That's including parts and labor at a regular shop. I had that repaired maybe about 4 years ago at this point in time, and it's been fine. Relatively not a major issue. It'll be pretty much obvious when you have some kind of cooling issues. Your heating and cooling will be off. It basically will not be the same as you set it. You'll notice that either it won't run, but you can hear the air compressor click on. That's usually what happens. Okay. Issue number 4. Very common in these vehicles, along with pretty much every Jaguar XJ, which basically this is the platform and engine from, is the transmission shift solenoid. I have not had this problem, but I know for a fact many people do. If you look at any forum, it'll be a swarm of people complaining about the transmission shift solenoid. Now, how do you know if that's what you need? Usually the transmission is pretty solid in this car. You cannot check the the fluid level rather. It is a sealed unit. So adding fluid will not help you because you can't add it without some kind of pretty intense process. I've actually never done it myself, and I don't plan to. The transmission shifts fine in this car. But generally, it'll be obvious when you shift the transmission gear lever and your car kind of clunks into gear. Usually when you shift from park to reverse, it'll make like a lunge forward and back, or one or the other. If it shifts somewhat smooth, it's okay. Now, of course, I usually wait at least like a minute after turning the vehicle ignition on to kind of let the RPMs die down a little bit. That will kind of soften it up a little bit, but so far I haven't had any issues, and I don't think I will. I do take care of this car. As you could tell, it's in very good condition. All right, so issue number 5. So the Gen 1 models, which are model year 2000 to model year 2002, have hydraulic fan pump issues. So Gen 2 models, which is the one we're in right now, this is 04, and Gen 2 is 2004 to 2006. Both the V6 and the V8 have electric fan pumps, but the first gen models have hydraulic pumps, and usually if you have some kind of issue with coolant, your car will definitely overheat. The fans will not cycle, and generally that's what is reported with those Gen 1 models in particular. Issue number 6, or 6, however you want to call it, right? Except you can't put up the middle finger, that's kind of rude. Issue number 6, and I do have this issue in this car, is a leaking sunroof. So the way these cars work is, pretty much every car with a sunroof, there's drainage hoses running down the A-pillars. So there's 4 drainage hoses at each, side of the sunroof. In this particular vehicle, one of the hoses in the front usually gets disconnected through the A-pillar. Now, it is a repairable, serviceable issue, but you do have to drop the headliner and the A-pillar. All this trim has to come down. This particular car has airbags over here. So right here, this particular model has airbags. Most of the 04 LSs do not. So in my particular case, I haven't repaired the issue. I basically just kind of sealed the sunroof with like this outside sealant. It is removable. It's kind of a putty. It's not silicone, if that's what you're thinking. It is removable. And you know what? If I had the spare time and I guess, the ability, I have the ability, but I don't want to risk disconnecting the airbag or anything in this particular case. I would take care of it. For me, I personally don't care about the sunroof. I just like to have it open. Right now, it's just, open in my car. And that's fine for me. I don't really need any more.